What's good, YouTube? Crown Jewel from Crown Jewel Boxing, back with a gym. Just being home from the gym. Have a little taste. My Crown Vanilla. Mellow myself out on this Friday night, but I had to come on and do a little more of a detailed video to break down the fight last night. Shakur Stevenson against Edwin De la Santos. There was a lot of things wrong with that fight, but I won't go as far as some of y'all calling Shakur a bum and some of the undue criticism he's receiving. He's not special. He's not a generational talent. Who do we know that's not a generational talent that's won 5 world titles in 3 weight classes in 20 fights? So, I mean, he still had a remarkable career to this point. He's still a very, very young guy. Let's keep that in mind. Was it a lackluster performance? Yes, of course. You know what I mean? I can't lie. You know, I'm a Shakur fan. Again, I love him. I love everything coming out of Jersey. I'm a Jersey guy. So, yeah, you know, I'm pro Shakur. But, you know, I'm a realist, and yes, he himself said he had a lackluster performance last night. And I think for a lot of reasons. Just a lot going on in boxing right now that I think is counterproductive. Number one, fighters. Boxing is an extremely serious sport. Extremely serious. You are a modern day gladiator. Literally. You are going into the ring and putting your life on the line. That's not cliche. It's reality. I have someone that was close to me, very close to me, that literally gave his life while defending a world title. Boxing is not a game. You play every other sport, you don't play boxing. With that being said, there was a time when guys went away to camp. And the reason you went away to camp was to minimize your distractions so you can focus solely on the task at hand. That's kind of hard to do now with social media, phones. You know, everybody's walking around with basically a full computer with internet access in their pocket. It's kind of hard to eliminate distractions. I, for one, I'm currently a boxing trainer. At times I manage fighters, help fighters, former professional fighter myself, and I'm old school. I think when you're in camp, you're preparing for a fight, that phone access needs to be limited. You know, years ago when social media first started, you would see fighters turn off their social media while they're in camp. And I understand, you know, you guys want to engage with the fans and grow yourself, market yourself, and social media is a great place to do that, but do that when you're not in camp. Those 8 weeks you're in camp leading up to a fight, put the phone down. Leave social media alone. Going into this fight, Shakur was going back and forth with Devin online. He's discussing possible fights with Tank. All this stuff that may or may not be happening in the future when he had a killer in front of him in Edwin De la Santos last night that he was preparing for. So that's one thing. I think we need to get back to being a little more old school, and fighters need to go back to being a little more strict on themselves and focus solely on the task at hand, because you're literally risking your life, and that's not something to be taken lightly, especially when you're competing on a world-class level. Besides that, the actual event last night, I, for one, you know, I'm a member of YouTube. You know, I have a social media account, so I like access myself. I interview fighters before fights and, you know, much smaller fights, but, you know, I like that access too. But everybody wants access, and we're losing the sanctity of the dressing room. I looked at, before the fight, all the times ESPN shows shots of different celebrities going into the dressing room. You had Floyd, numerous people, Gillian Wallow, Michael B. Jordan. Listen, I'm sure Shakur loved the support. But if you looked at the look on his face as these people approached him, he looked uncomfortable. And when Gilly pulled out his phone, I'm guessing on social media, and is recording a video, laughing and joking while Shakur's sitting on the couch, you can see how uncomfortable he looked in his face. Like, that's a time where a fighter usually has solace And a lot of times, silence, or just very few people that's extremely comfortable with, because that's an intimate moment when you're preparing to go into battle. Like I said, you're a modern day gladiator. Like in comparison to the Romans who were going into battle in the Colosseum, like you're not really up for playing. I know, myself, I kicked my little brother out of my dressing room before. I didn't like a whole lot of hoopla and noise in the dressing room before the fight because years ago, I think we understood the gravity of what was at hand a little more than now. Like everybody wants to be so cool and so fly and have so much attention on them and give so many people so much exposure into their lives that I think is counterproductive. And I'm not saying that's the reason he looked like that, but I will say he definitely didn't look like he had a relaxing dressing room or a time in a dressing room where he could just gather his thoughts with him and his team and, like I said, prepare for the task at hand. I like that the celebrities are supporting the fighters. I like that they're friends, all that, but do all that after the fight. Before the fight, let that fighter get his mind right. Let him be focused. Let him worry about the task at hand. And again, let him be surrounded by the people that he's going into battle with. He doesn't need all that hoopla. So I thought that was something I took notice to too. Another reason, a lot of people were disappointed in the fight had absolutely nothing to do with Shakur and Edwin De la Santos. Had something to do with they were fighting behind a complete barn burner, fight of the year type fight, and Conciecao and Navarrete. Them dudes got it in from bell 1 to bell 12, and I'm telling you, Robson Conciecao, my hat goes off to you. This man got dropped twice, was hurt several times, but he fought his ass off to stay in that fight, and actually won more rounds, if not for the 2 knockdowns, which gave Navarrete 2 extra points, or gave him 2 less points. He would have won that fight, and he ended up getting a draw. That man looked like a man that was fighting for his professional life, gave it absolutely everything he had, and I couldn't be more proud of that warrior last night. Navarrete reminds me of and not stylistically, but just the way he gets hit. He has a good chin, and because he has a good chin, he has no defense. He just trusts his chin. And we've seen this before. We've seen this with Paul Williams. We've seen this with Diego Corrales. We've seen this with Ricardo Mayorga, where guys have a really good chin, so they lack defense. And eventually, that chin breaks down. Because no head is meant to be punched on. Every brain can only take but so much punishment. And it's going to happen to Navarrete as well. If he doesn't sharpen his defense up a whole lot, he's going to have a very exciting but very short career. Because this man just takes clean, flush shots repetitively throughout the course of the fight. And just relying on his power and his ability to be able to, take more punishment from his opponent than his opponent can take from him. And that's no way to fight. On the complete other side of that is why people were mad at Shakur and De la Santos. Because both of them, not just Shakur, we got to hold De la Santos' feet to the fire as well. He wasn't too keen on taking chances either. He fought a really defensive fight for most of the fight too. And he seemed to be really apprehensive about attacking Shakur himself, aside from maybe 1 or 2 moments in the fight at the end of the fight, towards the end of the fight, where he got desperate. But besides that, he relatively was cautious too, and kept his hands in the pocket and his pockets pretty much all night as well. So it was him as well. Another thing, I can't be biased. Another thing Shakur did that has people holding him to a very high standard is the same mistake Devin Haney makes, I think, a lot. When you come out and you're at the face-off and you telling a guy where the public can see, I'm going to beat the shit out of you, I'm going to fuck you up, all those type of things, you get the consumer excited. And they start looking for fireworks in the fight. And when you talk like that and you come out and put on, I'll still say, a beautiful performance, because being able to keep that, to neutralize De la Santos' power and keep that world-class fighter from being able to hit him with any power shots for over the course of 12 rounds, that's not an easy task. Something to be applauded. But you set yourself up for failure because you have the public anticipating a fight, and you came to box, and box very cautiously at that. So Just like I say about Devin and his father, when they make these bold and brash statements before the fight, and then their style of fighting completely contradicts that. Shakur did the same thing, so I had to hold his feet to the fire as well. You know what I mean? You got to walk it like you talk it, champ. And I have no problem with you fighting cautiously, fighting smart, outboxing guys, but then your pre-fight dialogue has to match that if you want the public to not judge you so harshly. With that being said, speaking of Devin, he went straight to his social media to say Shakur's a bum. He should have offered him 10%. He was being generous. Blah, 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 blah. Bro, you're preparing for a fight yourself. One of the biggest fights of your career. I think you need not be on social media worrying about critiquing Shakur and what he is or is not doing in his fight. And you need to be worried about Regis Prograis. Number one. Number two. Shakur is nobody's bum. You and I both know that. You guys have sparred him numerous times. You know he's not a bum. Number two, I'm going to be honest. I think Edwin De la Santos stops Devin Haney. I think Devin Haney will have a tougher time eluding him. He's pretty quick, a lot quicker than I thought, a lot more athletic than I thought, a lot more explosive than I thought. I think Edwin De la Santos beats Devin Haney. So if you want to prove Shakur's a bum, all right, Devin, either fight Shakur or let me see you fight De la Santos and do a better job with him than he did. You know what I mean? I don't want to just hear meaningless talk. I know you got Regis ahead of you, but you're the one that came out and threw your name into this by speaking on this fight when you have other business at hand. So if you're fortunate enough to get past Regis, which is not a guarantee, back up this talk. Fight Shakur or one-up him. Give De la Santos a shot and beat him worse than Shakur did. I bet you won't. So, I mean, that's another thing. Like, that's another case in point. Devin Haney's in camp right now. Why is he even on social media? Like, it's just way too many distractions in boxing. Somebody needs to be in these fighters' camps that they respect to be able to say, nah, champ, we worried about us right now. Put the phone down. We got work to do. We not worried about them right now. But that's pretty much all I have. Navarrete, Conciecao, I'd love to see them run that back, give them more money, and that is main event worthy, the rematch. As far as Shakur, still a great young fighter. Didn't perform his best last night. I think he felt that power and decided, hey, I'm going to stay out of harm's way and box my way to a victory, a decision victory, which is what he did. Was it exciting? No. But sometimes, just sometimes, you have to win and forget about being exciting. Like a basketball team that gets the lead and holds the ball. Or like a football team that gets the lead and runs the ball and kills the clock. They're playing to win. Boxing's no different. I remember being at the National Power Tournament, and God rest his soul, great trainer Nazeem Richardson had a fighter fighting from Philly. I forget the kid's name. But it wasn't his fighter, but he, when we went away to nationals, you could have another trainer that you knew, will work your corner if your trainer didn't make the trip. So he's working a corner for another Philly fighter at that time at the National Power Tournament. I think we was at Marquette, Michigan. Zaire Rahim was out there. Floyd Mayweather was out there. It was a big National Power Tournament at the Northern Michigan University in Marquette, Michigan. And Coach Richardson, brother Nazeem, he got this fighter through this fight that I ain't gonna lie, I didn't think he could get him through. The guy he was fighting was a complete banger with massive power in both hands. And what Nazeem Richardson had this guy doing, he talked to us about it afterwards, was just throw 1-2s and step around this guy for all 3 rounds. And afterwards he said, listen, I told him, because somebody said something about why didn't he let his hands go? And brother Nas said, I told him not to let his hands go. He did exactly what I told him. I told him to throw 1-2 and step around, because if he stayed there for the third punch, the way that kid could fight, he would have got him out of there. Similar to what Shakur had to do last night. Had he stayed too long, had he took too many chances, De La Santos had the kind of power that could have ended the night in one shot. And had Shakur felt himself and stood there and took chances and got clipped, the same people critiquing him for not taking chances will be calling him stupid and saying he should have just boxed cautiously and won the fight. So, I mean, you can't please everybody. But let's remember, the name of the game is boxing. It's not called fighting. The name of the game is to hit and not get hit. Would I have liked to see him engage more? Absolutely. But I understand. You know what I mean? It's his health and well-being in there. And again, he wants to win. So he's going to put himself in position that's going to put him in the best position to actually win. And maybe he felt like standing in front of that man wasn't the best thing to do if he actually wanted to get that win. I think if they run it back, I think it'll be a better fight next time. I like to see some of them adjustments. Get the celebrities out the dressing room before the fight. Get off social media, at least, if not the whole camp, 2-3 weeks before fight night. Focus on the task at hand. Let's get back to treating boxing like the life-threatening, serious sport it is, and not a media spectacle or circus that any and everybody has access to. Champ, you know what I mean? Invite everybody in after the fight. Let everybody come into, to the victory party or to help celebrate. But when you got business to do prior, keep it business. Keep it business. And for you celebrities, you know what I mean? Don't put the fighter in that position. Don't even ask for dressing room access. Leave that man alone. Let him handle his business, because trust me, a fighter going into a fight, especially of that magnitude, has a lot on his mind. The last thing he needs to be doing is hosting him, her, and the like. You know what I mean? And I'm sure because of you guys' celebrity, he doesn't want to be rude, but it's just not a good look. It's just not. That man has a whole lot. I'm not just speaking about Shakur. Any fighter has a whole lot on his mind going into battle. That's not time for reunions. So, you know what I mean? That's really all I had to say. Let's not jump the gun. He is special. He's in his early 20s. That was his 20th fight last night. He's won his 5th world title in 3 weight classes. There ain't nothing regular about that. He's a special talent. He's a special talent who had an ordinary night. And every fighter has it. I don't care who you name. Every special fighter you can name has had an ordinary night before. But he obviously got the win. Was it impressive? Was it exciting? No. But he got the win. Let's continue to support him like we did before the fight. Let's not hold these fighters to unrealistic expectations. And fighters, get back to handling your business. Don't make your job no tougher than it has to be, because it's already the toughest job in the world, in my opinion. With that being said, I'm going to give you guys post-fight instructions. I need everybody to use your jab. Again, how do you use your jab? Hit the like button. I need you to use your hook. How to use your hook? Share the content. I need everybody to use that uppercut. How to use your uppercut? Subscribe to the channel. For those who've been rocking with me this past year that I've been making content, no matter how few it may be, I really appreciate you guys. You could be anywhere else in the world, but you're here with me. And the only thing you can't get back in this world is time. So any of your time you give me, I greatly appreciate it. With that being said, keep your hands up, your chin down, your ass off the floor. Peace.